Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Kubota at San Jose State in the Nutrition, Food Science, and Packaging Department, and today we're going to be roasting potatoes, and we are going to do a stuffed sweet potato. So I have some potatoes here. We've got our traditional russet potatoes. Love these for roasting and baking. They make a great baked potato. They're also extremely economical, so you can buy 5-pound, 10-pound bags of potatoes really inexpensively at the market. So they're a great way to get your veggies in and do it on a budget. I also have some sweet potatoes here because I love sweet potatoes. They're a nice alternative to the regular potato. They're highly nutritious as well. And not everybody thinks to roast them and to eat them and to include them as you would a regular potato. So we have sweet potatoes here. I wanted to show you this one because this is a good example of organic produce. It's not always perfect looking. This sweet potato came and it looks actually, I don't know, kind of alien-like even. It's got these veins growing on it. It doesn't look like your average potato, but you know what? We're going to roast that up and it's going to be delicious. So organic produce sometimes may not look perfect, but it certainly is going to be just as nutritious even if it's not perfect looking. So the way that we're going to roast our potatoes, you can do them a couple of different ways. You can cook them in the oven, you can cook them in the microwave. I'm going to show you both. The first thing you need to do is wash them. So usually you bring them home from the market and you're going to store them. And the best place to store them is in a dark cabinet, like in your pantry cupboard. You can put them in a bin in the bottom of your cupboard. You don't want to store them in your refrigerator. Actually, what happens then is the starches turn to sugars, and it just changes the whole flavor profile of the potato. So the best place to store them is in a dry, cool cupboard, dark place. Okay. Sweet potatoes don't store as long, so you're going to need to eat them more quickly, but potatoes can last in your cupboard a couple of weeks. So it's a nice thing to keep in the pantry. You're going to want to wash them just before you use them, so you scrub them really well. And then in order to roast them, if we're going to roast them, however you're going to roast them, you do need to pierce them a couple of times. If you don't pierce them, what happens is they build up, there's a lot of moisture actually in the potato. They build up a lot of steam during that cooking process. As they heat, that moisture turns into steam and they can actually explode. And it can be dangerous. If you pull it out of the oven and you touch it and it explodes, you get molten potato all over you. It can be actually kind of dangerous. So you want to make sure that you pierce them. Sweet potatoes, russet potatoes, whatever potato. You just take a paring knife and you're going to pierce it a couple of times. And that's going to prevent that explosion of molten potato. And then I'm going to do all my potatoes, get them ready. So you can cook these in the oven. If you're going to roast them in the oven, you can expect the potatoes, depending on their size, smaller potatoes like this in an oven at 400, 425, so a nice hot oven, would probably take about 45 minutes to an hour. If you have larger potatoes, if you get some of the big potatoes, they're going to take longer to cook in the oven. Obviously, the larger the potato, the longer it's going to take to cook. I can just put these in the oven. So I can take these potatoes and I can throw them on the rack in the oven. That's perfectly fine. I can also throw them on a sheet tray like this, put them in the oven. Okay? And when you do that and you cook them kind of naked like that, you get a nice kind of crispy skin to them, which is really nice. Some people love that. You can also take your potatoes and you can wrap them in foil. So I would pierce them. I'd rub them with maybe just a tiny touch of oil or just a little bit of butter, wrap them in foil and put them in the oven. And that, if you do it that way, you're going to get a softer skin. So it really depends on how you like your potatoes. But the easiest way is just to throw them in the oven on the rack. Okay? Sweet potatoes, same thing. Is you can just throw these on the rack. I find that sweet potatoes, when you roast them in the oven, sometimes they tend to give off a little bit of juice and sweetness and sugars out of them where you've pierced them, so they can make a little bit of a mess. So I don't like to cook my sweet potatoes on the rack. I want to make sure that I put my sweet potatoes on a pan in the oven. And usually what I'll do even is protect my pan with a little bit of foil because it makes cleanup later a lot easier. So that's roasting in the oven. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of these in the oven. And then I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to throw this whole pan in the oven. Got the oven going down here. Now, we can also cook these in the microwave. And the way that I do them in the microwave is I actually wrap them in a wet paper towel. So I take a paper towel, just get it damp. It doesn't have to be super wet, but just damp. Okay. So I've got my damp paper towels here, and I wrap it up like it's wrapped up in a little blanket. And what this does is help to provide some steam and to keep it moist. So that can go into the microwave on a plate like that. Okay. And depending on the size of your potatoes, you can usually have a potato microwaved in about 5 minutes. So this smaller potato, maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and same thing with the sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes might cook a little bit faster, but usually about 5 or 6 minutes if I'm putting one potato in. If my potatoes are larger or I'm putting a whole plate of potatoes in, it might take longer. So you can start with 5 minutes, and then you can just gently touch them. Remember, they're gonna be hot, so do it carefully. Take a paper towel maybe and touch them and squeeze them and see if they're done. And you can just keep adding a minute or 30 seconds or a minute until they're done to your liking. So I'll go ahead and turn around and put these in the microwave. And I have to plug in my microwave. And let's see, I'm gonna set this for So I'm going to set that for 5 minutes. So now we're going to pull our potatoes out of the oven. I've got some ready to come out of the oven. Ooh. Yum. And I had already pulled those out, and I'll show you what I did to them earlier. And I also have some that are going to come out of the microwave. So you can see both. So here's our microwaved potatoes, and these were wrapped in the paper towel, so then I just unwrap them carefully. But you can see they're steaming hot. And then with potatoes, you want to pierce them right after they come out of the oven. So what I'm going to do is, and I also hate wasting things, so I will just set these paper towels to the side and allow them to dry. And I can reuse those, not for cleaning so much, but I don't have to necessarily throw them away because they are still useful. I'm just going to cut that right down the center, both of those, and open them up just a little bit. And that allows the steam to come out. If you don't do that part, your potatoes can get a little bit gummy. So if you are going to make them ahead, just go ahead and give them a quick pierce, push them open, and allow some of that steam to escape. So that's what I did here. And so these were done a little bit before our microwave potatoes were done. Okay. And then these are ready. So I would serve these alongside a little piece of our rotisserie chicken, or I could serve this as a meal, but I am good to go. And because I've done several, I've meal prepped. So I can eat one now, I can put the rest on a plate or in a Tupperware and put them in the refrigerator and just reheat them as I need them over the week. So these are a great, great option, versatile for meals and snacks throughout the week. And we are going to do a stuffed sweet potato with a pulled chicken. So I've got some of our rotisserie chicken, in case you haven't been on with us. We butchered a rotisserie chicken earlier, so you can view that episode another time. And I've got some of the rotisserie chicken here, kind of shredded up. And all I'm gonna do, so this is nice pulled chicken. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna mix it with a little barbecue sauce. And I'm gonna stuff this into a roasted sweet potato. I also have a regular russet potato. It would be equally delicious on a regular potato. So we'll add a little bit of barbecue sauce. Whatever barbecue sauce you like is fine. The nice thing about sweet potatoes and regular potatoes, you might order them when you're out, and you might order a loaded baked potato. We're loading this up, but we're gonna load it up in a healthy way. When you order a loaded baked potato, it usually comes filled with butter, oftentimes with sour cream, cheese, and bacon. All those things add flavor, but in moderation. And when you add something that has a lot of flavor and is already really moist, our sweet potato is already really moist, we're gonna add in this pulled barbecued chicken. We don't need any of that butter. You're not gonna miss any of it. So let's see if I have enough sauce here. And I'm just using my fork to kind of shred the chicken. That's the pulling part. You can use your fingers too, but my fork will help to shred the chicken. I'm gonna add a little bit more. just a little bit more sauce. Now a touch more sauce. And yum, perfect. I'm gonna load this into my sweet potato. And I just pulled this out so it's nice and warm. I'm gonna push it open, and I can actually take my fork and open it up a little bit more and kind of press on the flesh a little bit and soften it up. Okay. At this point, I'm gonna add in the cheese next, because having that nice warm potato will help to melt the cheese. I don't need all of that. I think just a little bit, maybe a little too much cheese. A little bit of cheese, and then my pulled chicken on top of that. And then I'm gonna load this up with broccoli. So broccoli is gonna be our nice green vegetable that we can add in, but it also goes really well with cheese and with barbecue sauce. So if we top this off with some broccoli, yum, and maybe just a few more shreds of cheese on top of that. And if you wanted to, you could drizzle it with a little extra barbecue sauce, maybe just a touch. Yum. That is, we'll take this potato off, ready to go. So that's ready to eat. If I made this ahead of time, and I certainly could, I could wrap this, put this in Tupperware, and then just reheat it gently in the microwave, so a minute or two in the microwave to reheat everything, and I'm good to go. This would be another good thing to take to campus for a great lunch. Go heat it up at the Student Union in one of their microwaves, and you've got a really healthy, nutritious lunch ready to go. So that's the stuffed sweet potato with barbecued pulled chicken.